800-450-7876. And Brother Neely Fuller Jr. joins us right now. Neely Fuller Jr., welcome back to WL Radio.
Thank you.
You know, you often said that we need to replace racism with a system of justice. And when I keep hearing that, I keep wondering, can that ever be done totally?
Well, it's got to be done, or we're doing nothing at all on this planet, the people of the planet. That's what we're supposed to be about, justice and correctness, and in a specific sense, making the world the type of place that it ought to be in every aspect, in economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, and eliminate that war part. Shouldn't have any war. People should be able to sit down and talk. They can have differences of opinions because that's how all progress comes about, by people talking to each other, looking at a situation that needs correcting. If it needs correcting, first find out if it needs correcting. It might be correct the way that it is. Or if it needs correcting, then sit down and talk about how best to go about correcting it so that you always get a what? A most constructive result from every move that you make, from every breath that you take. That should be the goal of the black people, first of all, on this planet, because we have been subject to every type of incorrectness that you can name. You can't name an incorrectness that we haven't been right at the epicenter of. Anything that's just tacky, trashy, terroristic, we have been right in the middle of it and gotten so far into it that many of us have embraced it and considered it to be normal. Just anything that makes no sense at all, we worship it, run to it, grab armloads of it, and then cry about the result. And so under the system of racism, we have been led in that direction. And so in order to unravel that, it's just not a matter of getting balance between people, which is guaranteeing that no one is mistreated and that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. We go further than that. We should be trying to go further than anyone has ever been, white or non-white. Not just use the criteria of somebody built the pyramids or the Roman Colosseum and do all Hail Marys on that. Somebody invented football. And so we just go around praising that. That's very shallow. We should have a world that is about as completely different from what anybody has ever experienced that we have ever had. That should be the goal. I call it the principle of universal man, universal woman, in total harmony with the universe.
Yeah, but Neely Fuller Jr., why would white folks want to give up they're in the pole position right now. They've been sitting in there since the start of mankind. Why would they want to give that up to give equality to other people? What's in it for them?
Because of the goals that I just named. See, we got off on a tangent. We've always been. The world has never been the way that it ought to be as far as recorded history is concerned. Now, maybe before people started writing things down and passing on information through computers and all like that, maybe the world was perfect. But there's nothing in recorded history that we should use as an example. Sometimes people say, well, we should go back to the good old days and like Moms Mabley once said, what good old days? When was that? And when you look at all of recorded history, there's nothing in recorded history that we should use as an example. Absolutely nothing. I mean, in total, there are little things, like the inventions and whatnot. But I'm talking about the way people have interacted with people. As far back as the record of history, of written material, gives a record of all people, white and non-white. It has never been what it ought to be. Now, your question was, why would the white people give up what they have now? As long as they have this value system of racism, we're going to have the same results because that is the major system on the planet right now. the system of white supremacy, which is what? Dominating and mistreating people based on color. Just looking at a person and say, now, does that person have color in his or her skin? And you look closely and you say, yeah, it looks like that person has a little bit of color. Sometimes it's a little bit of color. Sometimes it's obvious, a whole lot of color, like black, all right? But sometimes you have shades of color. So you look very closely and you say, well, the person looks kind of tawny. You know, the person looks kind of, oh, yeah, they got some, oh, yeah, I can detect it now. I see it now. That's a little bit of color. Now, what does that mean in the world today? It means that person is eligible to be dominated and mistreated. That's exactly what that means. Oh, that's a person, that's one of those persons who has the eligibility for being dominated and mistreated. Is that right? So, oh, yes, anybody with color in their skin, that's something that was created for you to mistreat.
Right. Hold that thought right there, Dr. Fuller. We got to step aside for a couple of announcements. Folks, you got to listen really, really keen. For rolling with us this morning, my guest, Neely Fuller Jr., 26 after the hour. The number to call, speak to Neely Fuller Jr. is 800-450-7876. I guess my question is, as a people, as a group of people, Neely Fuller Jr., are we predestined to be always in a struggle? Will there ever come a time where we see what you talk about, justice, it replaces racism? Or the system of white supremacy? Will there ever be a time that is no longer here on the planet?
Well, the record of history has shown that the law of inertia is the law of inertia, which means what? Something stays in place until something else moves it. Now, this will go on for thousands of years if nobody does anything. I mean, you can change something overnight. A rock was set on the moon. It was set right there for 10 trillion years. I mean, it was just sit there. That rock was set there. But you know what? It has been proven by people and by animals and whatnot that that rock can be moved. All you have to do is just walk up to it and kick it over. And that rock has been sitting there for 40 trillion years, and in 1 second, you can actually dislodge that rock and move it. And as long as it's been sitting there, it's not the length of time that something has been going on so much when it comes to behavior in people particularly. It's just a choice. But the white people, too many of them, of this planet, have chosen that, hey, let's not go any further. Let's set up a system of everything being done on the basis of what color somebody is. Everything in all of the areas of activity. Let's look at economics and put that on the basis of color. Education, all on the basis of color. Entertainment, all on the basis of color. Labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. And let's make rules based on that, saying that you can mistreat people based on color in all of those areas of activity. That philosophy took off all over the world and became the dominant philosophy and the most powerful philosophy that the world has ever seen. It became the greatest and most powerful religion that the world has ever seen, called what? White supremacy. That's a religion. There's never been in recorded history a religion more powerful than the religion of white supremacy. People sometimes misname it. They'll say, well, Christianity is the white man's religion and this type of thing. No, call it what it is. The religion of white supremacy in capital letters. That way your mind gets clear. Don't associate it with any other religion. Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, or any of the other isms out here, which there are a whole bunch of them. All of the tribal religions. You know, there are people with just made up of 300 or 400 people. I mean, and that's a tribe somewhere in a forest. And they have their own religion, a religion that nobody ever heard of except them. But the greatest and most powerful religion that has ever appeared among the people of this planet is the religion of white supremacy. Now, why do I say it's a religion? What is a religion? a strong belief backed up by action. That's all any religion is. You can't have a religion without having a strong belief, and you back up that belief with action. People are doing that right now all over the world, with their religions, saying that their religion, this is my religion, and I will prove to you that this is my religion by my actions. I will do things according to my religion. And these things you may not agree with. But, my religion now, it might be, set to hurt somebody, because my religion tells me to hurt somebody. All right? Most religions, at some point, tells you to hurt somebody. Okay? And the religion of white supremacy has inflicted more hurt than all of the other religions put together, because it's designed to mistreat people based on color. Now, your original question was, do I think that white people who practice that religion will give it up? Not without a whole bunch of discussion and maybe some violence and counter-violence, because the violence is going on all the time. The system of white supremacy, the religion of white supremacy, is a violent religion. It's backed up by force. They don't make any bones about that. They say, we will kill you, black boy and black girl. We will kill you. We will shoot you down right in front of everybody on a city street, anywhere, at any time, because you have the wrong color. Why? Because I said so. Well, what do you mean wrong color? I didn't have anything to do with my color. I said you're the wrong color. I'm not going to argue about that. Why? Because it's convenient for me to say that you're the wrong color. Don't tell me what wrong colors are. I decide if the wrong color is orange or purple or green. I decide that. Why? Because I'm a white supremacist. And anything that has color in it, I can decide that it's the wrong color, and I will back it up with brute force. And you are not competent enough to do anything about it. Or, in answer to your other question, how long do I think this will last and all like that? Going back to that law of inertia. As long as black people don't make it a priority when they get up in the morning and go to bed at night that we got to rid the world of racism. If that is not our priority, which it is not, the evidence shows that's not our priority. That's not what we wake up in the morning thinking about and go to bed at night thinking about. We have another priority. As long as we have that other priority, all of this mess is going to continue, simply because we haven't made that our reason for being. So what is our reason for being, particularly in the Northwestern Hemisphere as well as other parts of the world? What is it that black people think about more than anything else? See, all problems are solved by questions and answers. So that's a question. What is it that black people think about more than anything else collectively? And I'll give you the answer according to what I have observed.
All
and
right.
if it's incorrect, people can tell me.
What is the answer?
Oh, showing off. To whom? Each other. That's what all of our hair is about, all of our slangs are about, all of our gunfire is about on the cities of Chicago. That's nothing but a way of just showing off. If you sit down and think about it, a gang member right now putting that clip into that 9mm in the city of Chicago and sitting around his 3 or 4 guys around him and saying, hey, we're going to hit the streets and we're going to create some havoc today. We're going to go around here and kill some other black people that's about 12 blocks away from here, because we're going to see to it that they be dead today. And so y'all load up y'all ammunition. Make sure you got plenty of it. And we're going to use 3 cars. We're going to have a drive-by shooting at that school when it opens up. Some black people right now are planning something like that, not only in Chicago, but in many places all over the world, Nigeria, whatever. All right? And this is what? In order to accomplish what? What is this going to accomplish? Oh, I'm going to feel good about myself when I kill that blankety blank
Nelson weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on 1450 WOL.
I think he was staying with us 20 away from the top of the hour, that guest, Neely Fuller Jr. Before he left, he said something that was really interesting, Neely Fuller Jr. He said that the victims of racism, the onus is on us to get rid the world of racism. Why should it be on us since we are the victims?
It should be on us because we are the victims. I mean, people who are in prison should want to get out, and we are in prison. The whole world has been made a prison. You're in prison based on your color. You're restricted in where you can go. That's what gentrification is all about. That's a prison. The white supremacists go where they please. They don't believe in borders. Not for them. Borders are for non-white people. You hear a lot of talk about borders now. Borders are for non-white people. In other words, you can't go here, black person, dark person, person of color. Don't you step over here. You're on my land. Why? Where is my land? The entire planet, boy. Wake up and smell the coffee. The entire planet and all of the other planets out there. The whole universe is mine. You're talking to a white man. Wake up and smell the coffee. You're talking to a white man and a white woman in the system of white supremacy. Haven't you woke up and found that out in all these thousands of years? Do you get the message ever? Is your skull so thick that you don't get that message and you're looking at it every day? Each and every one of you, wherever you are on the planet, you're looking at it every day. Everywhere you go, you don't see it any different. And you haven't caught on yet. How dumb can a Negro get? It's unbelievable. And they're asking questions. That's slang. That's almost an anthem for black people. Hey, man, what's happening? Here it is, 2015, and we're asking what's happening. The system of white supremacy. Black fella, like always, that's what's happening. An evil system that dominates the entire planet and every move that you make, including when you fight with another black person. You're being dominated by the white supremacists. You just don't know it. You've been orchestrated from the day that you were born and even before you were born, because your mother and father before you were orchestrated. And they don't even know it for the most part. They have a little glimpse of it every now and then during the day. If somebody just uses the N-word, all of a sudden they get all, frustrated and screaming and yelling and want to get in the streets with a sign and all like that. When you're being called that in economics, in education, in entertainment, labor, law, politics, sex, you're being called the N-word in all of those areas of activity all day long, everywhere you look. But you're looking at it and not seeing it. That's two different things. Looking at something is not the same as seeing what you're looking at. Looking at it all the time and not seeing it. So that's what we have to do. Concentrate on what we're looking at. Everything that you see around you is all about racism. Not some things. Well, racism is out there. Look at the expressions we use. Racism is out there. Out where? Racism is everywhere you look, everything that you touch, everywhere that you walk, everywhere that you ride. You're riding on racism and don't even know that. Everything
and you say
you talk about, every school that you go to.
Right. Neely Fuller Jr., your book.
The books are loaded with racism, right in your face.
But your book, The Code, you says in that book it contains all the information to break all of this. Can you explain how that's done?
By realizing that in the front of the book that I've written, it says, if you don't understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. And people who are confused, now this is universal law, can always be dominated by somebody who's not confused. You can test that yourself. If you got 10 people in a room and one person knows where the fire exit is and a fire breaks out, that one person is the most powerful person in that room. Why? Because that person is the only person not confused. The rest of the people run around talking about fire, screaming, knocking over the desk, falling over things, choking on the smoke. But that one person who says, follow me. Why? Because I'm calm. I'm not confused. See, that's one thing that happens. When you are not confused, you're calm. You're not a screamer and a yeller. Black people are the screamingest and yellingest people in the world. Always screaming and yelling. We scream and yell when we talk. We walk down the street on cell phones, screaming and yelling and calling everybody a bunch of MFs. Why? Because we are confused people. Our brains are severely damaged. We get on a bus and we're mad at everybody on the bus without even knowing why we're mad. Let's tell the truth now. Let's tell the truth. We get on a bus in what we call the black community, and we can't stand nobody on that bus, and we never even seen them before. But we roll our eyes at everybody. You better not say nothing to me. I'll shoot you. And that bus driver better not say nothing to me. I mean, come looking at me like, that I ain't going to pay my fare. I'll cut his throat. You better not say nothing to me. I pay my fare, and even if I pay my fare, I don't like him no way. Why? He looks like me. He's one of them throwaway people. I'm a throwaway person. I can't stand throwaway people. I like to throw away everybody in my family. They ain't no good neither. See, that's really what we think. And then we try to cover it over with all this fake high-fiving and hugging. Black people are the high-fivingest, huggingest people in the world and can't stand each other. We need to stop being phony. Stop being phony. Tell each other the truth. I don't really like you, man. But according to a code, I'm not going to do nothing to hurt you. I don't like you, and I probably never will like you, but I'm not going to do anything to harm you. Why? Because that's a code violation. See, that's why we need a code. We need some discipline, and discipline doesn't come from the outside. As anybody that's been in an army will tell you, ultimately, the best army, the best soldier is a soldier that when all of the other soldiers are dead, he keeps fighting on. Those are your best soldiers. When he looks around, he's not looking for any validation from anybody else, not looking for any medals. Your best soldier is not looking for medals, not looking for validation, or a parade. It's going to be given after the battle in his honor. The best soldier is a soldier that is dedicated to what? The mission. And that's what we need, to be dedicated to the mission of replacing the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. That's what our dedication is.
Hold that thought there. When you come back, I want to know, do we need all of us to be on that same page, or do we need just a certain amount of folks to be thinking likewise what you're saying to eradicate race? Thank you for staying with us, folks. 8 away from the top of the hour with our guest, Neely Fuller Jr. Dr. Fuller, you were saying that we are the ones who can break this, the racism and stranglehold that's on us. There's a code that we need to use. But my question is, how many of us do we need? Do we need everybody in D.C., everybody in Louisiana or Chicago? Everybody wake up and say, hey, we're going to end this system of racism and white supremacy. This is what we're going to do. We're going to follow this code. How does it work?
Code is nothing but a way of getting things done. Now, and getting things done is a cliche itself. See, we got to watch those cliches. Getting things done like what? Make sure that the answer to that question is make sure that every move you make has a constructive result. That's it. I don't care if you're sitting down there eating a plate of food. First thing you do is check out what is in that plate and ask yourself one question. When I eat this food, is it going to have a constructive effect on the way that I think, speak, and act. It's real simple. See, a correct code of behavior is simple. It's not complicated. The white supremacists take simple things and make them complicated. That's why people flunk out of school after getting in debt for $50,000 and all like that. And they come out wondering, what am I going to do with this piece of paper I got in my hand? Because what did I really learn? Did I learn how to solve a problem? And if I learned how to solve a problem, what problem did I learn how to solve? I mean, the whole purpose for learning anything is to do what? Solve problems in the most constructive manner. That's the real correct reason for learning anything. But how many black people on this planet are problem solvers rather than problem makers? Because you're going to be one or the other. Now, we are all problem solvers and problem makers minute by minute. But when you add up all the minutes, what does the average person on this planet, white or black, do when it comes to problem solving? Well, the white supremacists are the greatest problem solvers that the world has ever seen, okay? But they're also equally the greatest problem makers in all of their problem solving. I don't care about their travel and whatnot. I mean, they speed up travel. You know, people used to have to walk everywhere, go over mountains on foot and all like that, when they can jump over mountains now. I mean, sometimes, just by putting something on your back and just be projected like Superman right over the mountain. I mean, where it might take you 18 months to get to the other side of that mountain by the old days in ancient times, now they can do it in 5 minutes. I mean, one person maybe by just putting some kind of little little rocket device on a person's back and do it in 5 minutes. What it would take 18 months to do by foot. All right? Now, that's problem solving. But see, you got over the mountain, but what are you going to do when you get over the mountain? Well, if you're a white supremacist, I'm going to see if there are any dark-skinned people over on the other side of this mountain, and so that I can mistreat them. So now you have solved one problem, and that's gotten over the mountain in a hurry in 5 minutes when it would have taken you 1,000 years ago, maybe 18 months. You got over the mountain in 5 minutes, but you got over for the incorrect reason, Mr. White Supremacist, Mr. and Mrs. The incorrect reasons. Why don't you do something with the correct reasons, the ultimate reason? When I was young, I know this is what you intend to do, because when I was very young, I saw what? Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, on old Republic Studio, grainy, black and white film, you might say, Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers, doing what? Talking about going to other planets. This is back in the 1930s and 40s, when I was real young, sitting in a little cooler theater with my bare feet and looking at the screen, or some raggedy shoes on, up at the screen, and some white people going to the moon and places like that. And what were they going to do when they got there? They were going to kill the dark people. I saw one episode saying we came here to kill the clay people.
All right, hold that thought right there, Neely Fuller Jr. We got a bunch of folks want to speak to you as well. He uses logic to explain and everything that he does. Let's go to line 2. Robert's calling us from Kansas City. Robert, you're on with Neely Fuller Jr.
Hey, good afternoon, Carl and Mr. Fuller.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Mr. Fuller, a lot of people listen to this show. They don't think that you're giving the solutions to white supremacy, but I believe that you are giving the solution when you say that when you use that word constructive behavior, like when you said you say don't call nobody now that you have something constructive to say, and you even see this in the animal kingdom. I was watching a show on TV where this bee, he had arrived back to the hive, and when he arrived back to the hive, he did a certain dance. And with that dance, it told the other bees exactly where to go to get the food. The other example was it was a group of ants coming from food. They had just eaten this food, And when they were leaving the food source, they were touching the nose of the other ants who were on their way to the food source. And when I saw that, I said to myself, these ants are just not shucking and jiving. They're doing, it's all about constructive behavior. You know what I'm saying? It's all business. And, I guess that's why the Bible says to study the ant. So you're giving a solution when you say constructive behavior. But I guess the problem is we don't know what constructive behavior looks like. So I'll just get off and let, you respond to that.
Yes, that's correct. And you always, and now the question is, what is constructive behavior? Like I have a word guide that you can get through producejustice.com where words mean something. So if you're going to say constructive behavior, what would constructive behavior look like? Well, you go by the result. If I put a 9mm in my waistband and go out here on the streets, walking up and down the street in the center of the sidewalk, hoping that somebody brushes up against me, like that old Muddy Waters song used to say, I'm drinking TNT, I'm smoking dynamite, I hope some screwball starts a fight. Now, that has been a part of what we call black culture as far back as I can remember. I hope some screwball starts a fight, because I'm ready. Ready as anybody can be. I'm ready for you. I hope you ready for me. That's a song. See, a lot of what we intend to do is in our songs, all right? A lot of it, okay? And a lot of what we call our culture is in our songs. And it reflects the things not only that we have done, the things that we intend to do. And it's a reaction to the culture of white supremacy, because they put these things in our heads. They provide the 9mm. They provide the TNT that we're smoking, the dynamite that we're smoking. Smoking TNT, I'm carrying dynamite and all that type of thing. And I hope some screwball starts a fight. Screwball always meaning some other black person. You ain't hoping that no white supremacist starts a fight, because you can't handle that. All the gangs out here doing all that bragging and whatnot, they can't handle that. You let the good old boys turn loose on you, you'll find out what hell is in about 5 minutes. See what I mean? We need to think about that, and that's anywhere in the world. There's no place you can go where that's not true. You think that you're a hell raiser, you get in the white supremacist face with that Negro ghetto stuff. And they'll sit you down in a minute. And every black guy wearing an orange jumpsuit knows it. He's a hell raiser when it comes to other black people. He's like a little kitten when it comes to the white supremacists. When they get up from behind their desk and say, that's enough of that, boy. Boy, that's enough of that. And I'm not going to talk loud to you. I'm just going to tell you that's enough. And then behind that is the entire power of an entire system called the system of white supremacy. And we can shut you down in less than 2 seconds, just like we did your grandpappy and your grandmammy, who you depend on to support you and your gang. Her little welfare check is the reason you got bullets for that 9mm. Don't play with me, boy. I know everything there is to know about you. You're nothing, and your people are nothing. That's why you have to grovel before me. I'm not walking around with picket signs saying, please, you black people, give me a job. You're asking me for a job if you ever get one. So shut up with your tattoos and your dark shades and your dreadlocks. Just sit on the other side of the desk and shut up. Now, you're listening to the voice of the white supremacists. We have seen this. We need to stop playing with ourselves and act like we don't know what we do know. We know this. Neely Fuller isn't saying anything phenomenal, but we lie to ourselves. And we're the biggest people in the world for talking about keeping it real. Man, I keep it real. No. You're telling yourself that you're something that you're not. And you think that growing another hairdo and buying another pair of shades and getting another tattoo on the bottom of your foot is going to liberate you. No, you're going to have to come up with a code of behavior that is based on science, because everything in the universe is scientific. And just going around selling wolf tickets won't cut it. It never has. We did it when we were wearing conks. That didn't work either. We had the zoot suit. We carried razors. It hadn't gotten us anything. We're still, in 2015, practically in the Stone Age in our minds. Even though we're wearing bling-bling all over the place, we're still what that typical saying was, what the way they see us, the way the world sees us, is like in Godfather 1, around that table. What did the person say? Let's sell our drugs to the dark people, the coloreds. Why? Because they're nothing but animals anyway. Let them lose their souls. They are nothing but animals anyway. I don't care what kind of suit they're wearing. I don't care how many hairdos they get, or tattoos they get, or 9mm they walk around with. They're nothing but animals. Why? Because that's what we have made them. We are white supremacists. We know what animals are, and we control animals. We have a thing called animal control. We're the best in the world at it. And we go on safaris whenever we get ready and kill some of them just for fun. Put on a uniform and a badge, and let's go out and kill some of the animals. And come back and drink a beer and, and talk about how he felt when we shot him. He thinks he knows about guns. We made the gun that he got.
Hold that thought right there, Neely Fuller Jr. 10. As I get this thing, it's 13 after the hour with our guest, Neely Fuller Jr. The number to call to reach Neely Fuller Jr., 800-450-7876. Let's go to line 3. John's calling us from Fort Worth, Texas. John, you're on with Neely Fuller Jr.
Good morning, Carl, and good morning, Mr. Neely. I've got an interesting take on this whole situation because back in Kemet, ancient Kemet, when we were kings and queens of the planet, they used to worship this god called Osiris. Now, to my understanding, Osiris means a lord of the pure black. And my understanding is from reading our material that our historians have written that we actually started this racism thing by saying that you can only have pure black skin to be on the throne. So when we started doing trading with these Haikos, the Aryans, or whatever they call themselves, coming out of the north of Europe, we discriminated against them and made them our slaves. And so when they saw this and became powerful people, they invaded us after doing years and years of trading, and they said, well, okay, let's go ahead and make these black folks our slaves now, because they're the one that started this racism thing against themselves and enslaved their own people themselves, and this is where all of this started from. Are you aware of this? And if so, do you think we should have some type of reconciliation with these people to try to straighten this thing out? And I understand Dr. Francis Welsing's viewpoints, and I agree with them, and I also agree with the things that I've heard you say. But I think it's our own fault, and that we should try to inform our own people and try to go from there. And what is your opinion on that?
Well, I've heard all kinds of stories about what has happened in history. And I've come to a conclusion, and that is that people who are on this planet now should not base anything on what they do based on what all of that, what I would say, the things that happen in everything that I have read and heard about what has happened in history. I started off this program today saying, don't use all of that stuff as a criteria for doing what needs to be done in the future, because I came to the conclusion that people have never been the type of people that they ought to be. I've come to that conclusion. I've heard black people going around talking about black people being kings and queens and all like that. First of all, look at what a king and queen does all down through history. Kings and queens have never been the type of people that they ought to be. None of them. None of them. I don't care who they were. So aspiring to be a king or a queen, just look at kings and queens. That's royalty. Royalty is holier than thou. I'm better than you. That's what all royalty is. And now we have the worst form of royalty that you can possibly have or have had in the history of the world. It's called the system of white supremacy, where every white person is considered royal and every non-white person is considered non-royal, not a member of the royal family. So royalism is not a solution to any of our problems. We need to get rid of that nonsense about black kings and queens. We're bragging about something that never should have been in the first place. You being a king or a queen in order to do what?
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you this question, Doctor.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Neely.
Are you there? I think we lost John.
Oh, did you? You lose
Yeah,
it?
I think we lost him. But go ahead.
But see, in other words, when you have a title or anything, or when you're doing anything, it all comes down to what's the result of what you're doing. What is the result? I don't care if you're a king or a queen. There have been lots of kings and queens, and we act like that's some type of criteria for something. Oh, you know, at one time there was a black king of Kupu. Did you know that? And then when you look at all the ingredients that went into that so-called kingship, you say, what were the people actually doing on a day-to-day basis, every minute, those people who were in that kingdom? Well, I haven't heard of any who were doing what they should be doing. Not any. I haven't heard of that paradise that existed at some time or another other than the Garden of Eden. That's the only one I heard about, and somebody messed that up. So I'm saying don't use that as a criteria. I think most preachers will agree that, you know, right from the beginning, there were people called Adam and Eve. I'm talking about Christianity now. Every Christian minister I've ever heard talk have said that there was a person called Adam and a person called Eve, and that they messed up. So do we need to keep recycling mess in one form or another? I say no. Let's break out of it altogether and do something completely different. Make a world that has never been. I call it the concept of universal man and universal woman. Why? Because we're in the universe. I don't believe in what you call embellishing the black side of town. I don't believe in the concept, and I shouldn't believe in the concept, and I advocate that nobody should believe in the concept of the so-called black community. What we need to do is eliminate the white community as a white community. Now, we can have community, but it's a world community. Universal man, universal woman, where no one mistreats anyone, not for 5 minutes, and that everybody, when they interact with each other, does so in the most constructive manner. And I say that black people want to pioneer something. That should be the only thing that we're pioneering. And anything less than that is totally unacceptable. Just coming up with a new look at our goals. Just trying to create a new song and saying that that's the ultimate goal. A new song, usually about sex or booty shaking or something like that, or even harming somebody. And just because it's a song we never wrote before, words arranged with some sounds, and we'll say, this is what we call the advancement of black people. That is so shallow for an entire set of people who should be making the world the universal people in tune with the universe, in perfect tune with the universe. Anything short of that doesn't even get honorable mention. That's the way we should think here in 2015. Anything less than that, You shouldn't give anybody a plaque or an award or anything. I mean, this little stuff that we hand out little trinkets for and say that, this is a great black person or this is a great white person on account of they did this and they did that. Wait a minute. Have you produced justice? If you haven't produced justice, you haven't done anything. Just shut up. Don't accept no awards. Turn them all down. Why? Because the world is not the type of place it ought to be. There shouldn't be any awards being handed out. There shouldn't be any celebrations of anything. We're not qualified to celebrate. We can relax. We can have fun. We should do that. But doing things that are 100% constructive, anything less than that is totally unacceptable. That should be our mindset. We're nowhere close to that mindset even. Our actions are not going to be any greater than where our minds are. And black people and white people, we are just as shallow as we can be, all of us, collectively.
All right, hold that thought right there, Neely Fuller Jr. We're going to step aside for a couple of announcements. We've got some folks who want to speak to you. You too can join the dialogue with Neely Fuller Jr. Reach out to us at 800-450-7876, 22 after the hour. Your calls are next on 1450.
I can make an impact in the world. As young people think that we can't make a difference, but not only we can make a difference, but sometimes we can make the biggest difference.
We wanted to be the doers and we wanted to be the changers.
You just have to find something that you're passionate about and use your talents and your abilities to volunteer.
Volunteering doesn't have to be a chore.
It really is a reward in itself.
It helps you get farther in life.
There is no better feeling than helping somebody else.
You could see one person smile, you could tell they needed that smile, and it could really change and open up your heart to new things.
A lot of things are really competitive about individual achievement. Volunteering is a way to take a step back from that.
See a need, gather friends, and change the world.
Changing someone's world.
It happens now. This is the time. And this is when you learn, so why not start?
Are you a young volunteer making a difference? Apply for the Prudential Spirit of Community Award. Visit spirit.prudential.com.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's?
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What?
No!
Yep. And my dorky dad hat, and I'm going to do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up.
See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time.
What?
No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
1450 WOL, where information is power.
This show has been previously recorded. No phone calls, please.
Real talk radio in the AM.
The #1 morning show. #1 on everybody list.
Carl Nelson on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for rolling with us this morning. My guest, Neely Fuller Jr. And remember to call and speak to Neely Fuller Jr. is 800-450-7876. Go to line 5. Ernest is in Bmore. Ernest, you're on with Neely Fuller Jr.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call. In 1948, the Eastern Europeans colonized Palestine. They called themselves Jews. And then they decided to attack and kill white people, the brown people in Palestine, and steal all their land. Then, now they're in the United States. They call it the Project for a New American Century. And these same people decided to, in 5 years, to destroy all the Muslim countries, Libya, Iraq, Syria, all the Muslim countries in that area, and they're doing that. They got Libya and killed 30 to 50,000 people. Now they're arming the same people, and this government is arming the so-called ISIL. They're arming these people, and they're in Syria trying to destroy them. Now, and President Barack Obama, I saw him on television giving a speech of how they're going to bring down ISIL, and he had 64 countries involved into destroying these Muslim countries, Afghanistan, Somalia, Sudan. All these countries have been brought to their knees by these groups of people. And before a president can be president, he has to go before the same group of people, AIPAC, the American Israeli Political Affairs Committee. And he has to go to Israel and lay wreaths and wear yarmulke and all that. So I'm saying, which clan of white people do you think is the most powerful clan of white people in the world that is controlling the world, controlling the banks, controlling the money? Now, it's alleged that the Lord Rothschild, who funded, his family funded every war that ever happened, has $500 trillion. And they are in charge of all the banks. So how is it that we're going to get these people to understand anything? We don't even understand that. We see it on television, how they're killing these people down in the street. We see on television that how they are killing us in the street. As a matter of fact, I saw on one show where these same people in Kenya, these Zionist Jews, the Messiahs in Kenya, teaching black people, of course they don't need too much teaching, how to kill people in death squads. The Kenyans are killing Muslims in Kenya and death squads, just go into the house and just kill them and then take them out in the woods and hide them. So how can we overcome this when black people think that President Barack Obama, who is the leader right now or is the puppet in charge of white supremacists, and going around all preaching, and he's the face of white supremacists? How can we get over this, and how can black people understand that they don't have any say about what people come into this country? I don't care who they are. They have as much say. If I had a dog in my house and in the yard, and I say, I want to bring another dog into the yard, that dog in the yard don't have no say about if I want to bring one dog in the yard or 20 dogs in the yard.
All right, Ernest, I think you made your point. Let's give him a chance to respond. Thank you for your call. Neely Fuller Jr.?
If I understand the question, because all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. That's universal logic. So, I have said no major problem that exists between the people of the known universe can be eliminated until racism is eliminated. And of course, racism is just in one form. It's only one form of racism, and that is the system of white supremacy. And how do you do that? through what every non-white person on the planet, every person classified as non-white, each and every day, starting off, make sure that everything that you say to someone, see, speech and action. That's what I have written in the textbook for victims of white supremacy, including that thing about no major problem can be eliminated. But what you do each and every minute of each and every day, to the best of your ability, and you won't have much ability to do it because the races won't allow it, to the best of your ability, make every move that you make, everything that you say to someone, have a constructive result. I'm talking right now. I'm supposed to be producing a constructive result. If I go off the air this morning and the results of what I have said has not had a constructive effect, then I shouldn't have really been on the air. I should go back to the drawing board and try to figure out how I can make what I say constructive, because you're not supposed to ever say anything to anybody under any circumstance that when you look at the result of what you just said, it causes people to behave in a manner that produces a constructive result. That's the only criteria. There's no other criteria. You don't go by how you said it or, how you felt about it and all like that. You go by what you're really looking at. Did it cause a person to go out and build a house or whatever, to give somebody shelter when they didn't have it? See, this is what you look for. Otherwise, it's just a lot of hot air, all right, which is most of what we put out, and that includes me. We just keep going around in a circle, doing a whole bunch of stuff. And we talk about history, and we talk about this, and we talk about black pride, and we talk about all, look at the result of all of that talk and all of that action. When we have meetings, yes, everything that was said this morning should be considered about, all the different religions and, the different people who have gotten together and they handle the money and what their classifications are and what their religion is supposed to be and the land that they're supposed to be on. Let's look at the bigger picture. You can look at the details, but look at the big picture. It's always the only real government on the planet just has one name, the system of white supremacy. There are no other governments. All of this other stuff about, these people over here and these Somalians are doing this. There's no such thing as Somalians. I mean, that's just a label. They're people. They're people who are trying to eat every day and trying to think of some way to solve their problems. That's what you find all over the planet, anywhere you go. When you strip it down of all of the language, whatnot, that people use to describe situations, you got just about the same situation. You got the system of white supremacy, and it's dominating everything and causing people to mistreat each other. That's all we got.
Hey, Dr. Fuller, we got to take a step aside for a news update. Folks, you too can join our conversation with Neely Fuller Jr. Reach out to us at 800-450-78.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school, I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym, I learned that I'm pathetic and a joke. In history, I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends.
In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me.
In biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid. And in math, I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today?
The only thing I didn't learn today.
The only thing I didn't learn
is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
Okay, here goes. I know more about cooking dinner for a party of 12 than I do about packing a lunch for a 12-year-old. I know kids like things like PB&J, pigs in a blanket. Oh, and fish sticks. They do love fish sticks. Fillets I get, but sticks? What part of the fish does the stick come from? I know I can read a cookbook that'll tell me how to make a red wine reduction, but where are the cookbooks that can teach me how to cut the crusts off bologna sandwiches? Oh, maybe we can compromise on mac and cheese. Can you make that with brie? Everybody likes brie, right?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to push your food around their plate. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
1450 WOL, where information is power.
This show has been previously recorded. No phone calls, please.
Your voice can now be heard.
Y'all ready?
Yeah. With Carl Nelson weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on 1450 WOL.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. 800-450-7876. We're 23 minutes away from the top of the hour. Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. is our guest. Let's go to line 3. Ricky J. is calling us from London in the UK. Ricky, you're on with Neely Fuller Jr.
Hi, Brother Neely. May I ask you a question? You said not so long ago that, do you actually believe that the whites are supreme? Because, for me, the title in itself sounds ridiculous. White supremacy, if that makes any sense.
Yes, supreme, white supremacy. Let's look at it. What is it? It's a white person who decides that they have a license to mistreat people based on color. That's all white supremacy is. And using this license successfully. See, first you have the white factor. That's number one. And then the white factor says, okay, anybody who's not white should be dominated and mistreated by someone who is white. That's the concept. Should be dominated and mistreated, not just dominated, because, in a family, a person, the older person you might say, be the dominant person in the room because he's smarter, okay? And but that doesn't say you mistreat the babies and whatnot just because you're in a dominant position. Well, if you're in this dominant position based on being white, and then you say that the people who are not white are eligible for mistreatment, now you have what you call a ideology which says that you can mistreat people based on color. Now, sometimes in the past, someone thought up that idea. This was an idea that was thought up. It's an idea for a government. And it turned out to be the world government. It's the most powerful government on the planet, and the evidence shows this. Now, black people, look at what we actually do. The people who are classified as black and are non-white. They cater to the people who are classified as white all over the planet. And this is obvious. If you really look at it, you have to stand back sometimes and just look at it and say, is this true or false? Is this true or false? Well, who caters to whom? See, I'm not trying to heap condemnation on white people because they're white. Nobody should be persecuted or mistreated for any reason. There shouldn't be any reason for mistreatment. But someone thought up a system where it's okay to mistreat someone if they have color in their skin. That's all it is. Dominate them and mistreat them. For what reason? In order for fun, for glory, and for material gain. And these are the things that the white supremacists have gotten out of it. Because the question might be raised, what do the white supremacists get out of being white supremacists? They get fun. Everybody likes fun. All people, regardless of who they are. And they get glory. That's the next thing they get, which means people kind of look up to me. People respect me. People think that I'm something special. They get that. Black people give them that. I mean, you know, we get blonde wigs and all like that. We're trying to look like them, you know, all like that. We're trying to copy after everything that they do that makes sense, and they do a lot of things that make sense, but they do a whole lot of things that don't make sense. See, I mean, they got a built-in contradiction in that system because the system is contradicted right from the beginning, and that is you set up a system that's designed to mistreat people based on color. That means at the end of the day, regardless of all the glitz and glitter and bling-bling, all the tall buildings, all of the airplanes flying through the air, the result, this is fine, the technology and all like that, but you use the technology to mistreat people. Now, I understand this call is coming from London. You have dark-skinned people in London. These dark-skinned people were permitted to go to London. Permitted by whom? Directly and indirectly, people who believe in white supremacy. And why are they coming to London? Because somewhere in some little village, not all, but in many places, people right this minute, even as we talk, or say, go where the white people are. Because why? Things are much nicer. Yes, things are, you know, bright lights and electricity. We don't have water in our village. You know, you have to go where the white people are because they run water up under the ground. I mean, and you turn on a thing called a faucet and you get hot and cold water. It's like magic. I mean, this is wonderful. And you go where they are, and that's where you find these things. You go among the dark people, and you don't have that. You have to walk 20 miles to get a bucket of water and hope that that water is not polluted. Not polluted by whom, by the way? By the white supremacists who 300 miles upstream have a mining operation that we don't know anything about. I hope you catch my drift.
I do, but is it possible to share my view?
Yes, sir. Oh, okay, for sure.
You said not so long ago that white people are this white supremacists. Or I can't quote exactly what you said, but you said they're very clever. They're very wise people. The way I look at it is
not wise, smart.
Okay,
that's two different things.
Smart. Okay, true. Okay, they're very smart, but I don't see that as them very smart. Plus, you said that words are powerful. So the thing is, if we keep on using perpetually this word white supremacist amongst our own peoples, then what's going to happen is that we're going to continually believe that they are. The way I look at it, you can't be too clever, wise, whatever you want to call it. If you are the ones creating the problems to cause a reaction, and then end up going back to being the so-called saviors, the solution. In other words, dualism is so old it doesn't work no more, you know? And when I'm hearing certain types of things, our people that are supposedly leaders, et cetera, the voice I keep hearing is a voice of, is as if you're working for the black community and its aspirations to go higher, but then you're at the same time giving a very negative view of Africa to the degree, like, like for instance, the white racists would say, oh, people in Africa are still living in caves, this, that, and do, basically regressed. But the way I look at it is like, I always ask a person this: when was the last time you went to Africa? When was the last time you actually studied?
I've never been, if you're asking me.
Okay.
I've never been.
No, I don't. I'm not really an indirect type of person. I would say it. But what I'm trying to say is directly. You know, words are powerful. You're correct. But the thing is, if we continue perpetually to say these type of things, these type of words, plus, to be honest with you, there's a lot of different groups and just the other day, there was a brother that was actually fired from a station, from a gas station, and his brothers and sisters got together and demanded to know why he was fired, and he ended up getting his job back. So things are happening.
Thank you, Stan. It's 12 away from the top of the hour with Neely Fuller Jr. Now, to telling folks you've got to listen very keenly when Neely Fuller's on the air, because he uses logic to explain everything. Ricky in London, I'm going to let you wrap up your question for Neely Fuller so he can respond.
No, I just wanted to finish by saying, you know, just the other day I saw something happening in Chicago with, you know, a young man was fired because for no reason, no major reason. And what happened is he got his brothers together, his sisters together. They came, they blocked the entrances, something that at the end of the day might cause a lot of conflict or whatever. But they demanded for the employers to find out why, you know, he was fired, etc. Anyway, to cut to the chase, they ended up re-employing him because what their so-called white supremacist system didn't seem to work with that brother. So things are happening in the community. But, you know, going back to what you were saying, Brother Neely, can I ask you why you haven't been to Africa?
Oh, because I haven't seen a necessity. I have talked to people like I'm talking to you. You're from Africa. Black people who are in Africa are in Africa. I have already made a conclusion, and that is, why do I need to go to find out what the white supremacists are doing when I have discovered what they are doing and that they dominate all of the non-white people everywhere on the planet? And I've never talked to anyone who said that they wasn't having serious problems, anybody of color, with the white supremacists, regardless of where they were on the planet. At one time, I figured that I could go to Shangri-La or go to Oz. I mean, as a little boy, I looked and say, there might be a place called Oz, like in The Wizard of Oz. They're showing it again right now on television somewhere, and I understand that right here in Washington, D.C., it's going to be on this week, all day long on one of the major channels. And that idea of nirvana, the idea of Shangri-La, the idea of there's this magical place, that if everybody can make it to this magical place, sometimes it's called Oz, sometimes Shangri-La, and sometimes I've heard people who are here, many of them who have never been to Africa, but they're wearing dashikos and all like this, and they're talking about how wonderful Africa is and all like that. But where is this Shangri-La? Where is this magical place, particularly for black people? Because I was looking for it before I first started writing the book and talking the way I'm talking now. I figured I'm not going to be bothered with this race nonsense. That's a bunch of wasted time and a bunch of foolishness. That was my ideology as a very young person, around 18 years old. I said, I'm through with that. I don't even want to discuss it. I don't even want to talk to anybody who's talking about race or anything. So I want to go to some magical place. And some people were telling me, well, if you go to Africa, now you have found it. Now you have found Shangri-La. Now you have found Oz. If you go to Brazil, there are black people in Brazil. Everything is just wonderful. Oh, the red carpets. I mean, everything that you could. No. When I talk to people who came from these places, they say somebody's been fooling you. I mean, we're catching hell. Catching hell from whom? From the white supremacists. Plus, we're catching hell from each other, arguing about what the white supremacists are doing. We're killing each other, squabbling about what they're doing to us. And I'm saying, is that true? I don't want to believe that. Well, you don't want to believe the truth, mister. This is what people were telling me. So I said, well, I ain't going nowhere. I'm going to cast down my bucket where I am and try to solve the problem right where I am. It's no place to run. It's no place to run. That's what I keep hearing. Because you better believe if there's a place that I can go to, any place, I'm checking out of here today so that I can get some breathing space.
Ricky, we thank you for your call. Before I take another call for you, Neely Fuller Jr., how can people get the book, and what's the title of your book?
The title of the book is The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, a textbook workbook for victims of white supremacy, which is what I call myself. I have that title more than any other title. And you can get it by going to producejustice.com. And the book is addressed to individual persons about what the individual person can do, because I'm basically about solving the problem, not about going around in a circle talking about what the problem is. That's been done very well by every type of scholar you can name, many of them white, who are talking about what the problem is. But when it comes to what do you do about it as an individual on a day-to-day basis, minute-by-minute basis, like what am I doing about it right now, Neely Fuller? I'm doing this talking. Am I helping to make a problem, or am I helping to solve one? Because I'm either doing one or the other. There's no such thing as in between. And I hope that I'm not making one. But you can get the book by going to producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is the method for ordering.
6 away from the top of the hour. Let's go to line 4. Rick's calling us from Ontario, Canada. Rick, can you make it quick for us?
I will do my best. Thank you, Carl, and good morning, Dr. Fuller. Over the years, I really appreciated both yourself and Dr. Welsing's presentation of what sounds like, I mean, when it's laid out as clearly and concisely as both of you do, I really don't see any area of argument. Black people in this country have been made consumers of the worst of white culture, and they don't realize it. When you speak about the compensatory code, I think it's really just the enactment or the enablement of morality. And that's something that we have lost. We've been domesticated just in the manner that you can see white people at the circus bring a big old 25-ton elephant and hold him at bay with a rope around his leg. And we don't see the correlation between what has been done to us and what white people do and have done all over the planet. This is a really simple thing. If we were inferior to whites, they would never have written laws to restrict our participation. It would be like having a retarded child that you make laws against. We're obviously superior to them, and they know it, and that is what white supremacy is in place to counteract, our ability to be our natural selves. So I'm going to ask this in the form of a question, Dr. Fuller. Can you give us some insight into how we've been so domesticated that really we're operating from fear?
All right. And you know what, Rick, we're out of time. We're going to have to save that answer till the next time. But I thank you for your call. Neely Fuller Jr., thank you also for another stimulating conversation.